talk on the dignity of human life and human person given to the young people of the Catholic Diocese of Kitui. My dear friends, the sanctity of human life from conception until a natural death and the inalienable dignity of each and every human person constitute the starting point and the central focus of every initiative that we take in life. In the Bible, it teaches that every man and woman is created out of love and made in God's image and likeness. This is seen in Genesis chapter 1, verse 26. And this shows the immense dignity of each person who is not just something, but someone. He is capable of self-knowledge, self-possession, and of living freely and giving himself in communion with the other people. St. John Paul II stated in a post-synodal exhortation in 1988 that when an individual is not recognized and loved in the person's dignity as the image of God, the human being becomes exposed to more humiliating and degrading forms of manipulation. And that most assuredly, this reduces the individual to a slave or to become a stranger in the eyes of other people. The Vatican document, Vatican II, the Catholic Church affirmed its historic concern about issues of forced labor, issues of slavery and prostitution. The Catholic Church affirmed on the issues of even selling of women and children, as well as the disgrace of working conditions where men were treated as mere tools of profit other than free and responsible persons. This is in Gaudes et Spes, number 27. So there are many parts of the world, there seems to be so many offenses against fundamental human rights. And these range from prostitution, human trafficking, issues of even torture, poverty, all those are issues that touch human life. Why is human dignity such a core aspect of our lives? There is a trend in the modern world where people want to commodify the human life. And this commodification sometimes comes up because of the narcissistic attitude of human people. People who are incapable of looking beyond themselves. What I mean by narcissism is that this person only desires all what he needs without having to look at the value of the other person. So now, each year, we know that there are thousands of people who are children who becomes victims of exploitative labor and sexual abuse. There are some forms of organ transplants in many places where people are selling their organs for money. And this is one form of exploitation of a human person. There is a deplorable and cruel and criminal acts that for sure are forms of modern slavery. And this was alluded by Pope Francis during his Angelus on 2017 July. The economic and social situations that we face now are shaping modern societies where people are subjected to profound ethical problems. And it is vital as we do any kind of technological advancement to safeguard the dignity of the human person. There is the problem of economic narcissism. This is a situation whereby people need all what they need, they go for it. But what we are calling for as a church is that people need to control their needs and their appetites, their habits. This implies avoiding the dynamic of dominion, where a person looks at the aspect of dominating the other people and accumulating pleasures for himself. This was talked over by John Paul II in the year 1990. Also, to dignify human person, we need to know that man is the source and the focus and the aim of every economic and social activity. And this will lead us to avoid the evil of capitalism. The capitalism is whereby you want to get money, but you don't even mind how you get it. So you end up exploiting other people so that you can get money. And this brings about abuse of human dignity. Catholic communities should therefore be at the forefront to oppose and denounce this false deity. Even more, we should be like the yeast within the societies by promoting some significant changes at the local level. We need to be the leaven, and especially the young people, we need to take care of ourselves. We need to know that we are created in the image and the likeness of God. And this is what we need to safeguard, and we need to avoid any kind of manipulation. We are hearing many forms of manipulation now. One is human trafficking, people being trafficked for labor in other countries. And when they go there, they start being mistreated and exploited. There are also forms of prostitution. It's also another form of the lowering the dignity of a human person. Because a human person has value. You can't sell your body for anything, no matter how much. There are many other aspects of that degrade the human dignity, where people are being used and sold for the benefit of this one person who is a big businessman. I experienced this one time in Mombasa, where a person has hired young kids from Uganda, and they sell coffee around the town of Mombasa. But what they sell, they bring back the money in the evening, and his work is only to give them one meal. That's a form of exploitation, and it's something that also degrades the dignity of a human person. In the modern society, the use of social media, there is a lot of degradation of human dignity, where there is a lot of cyberbullying, people abusing each other, talking about each other bad things. Even other people are trying to especially from the West and the America and the other countries, they look for Africans and they exploit the Africans, sometimes even killing them. There's a lot of organ transplant where people are being sold by other more powerful people, and they go and extract some of the vital organs from them. Many evils that are happening now. Some of these evils go undetected, and they avoid the public sphere. Recently, the dicastery from Rome for the doctrine of faith came up with a document just recently this month of April called Dignitatis Infinita. This is a declaration that affirms that every human person possesses an infinite dignity, and it enumerates and assaults on that dignity. It needs to be condemned by all spheres of life, and especially by the church. So the document says that there are attempts to obscure the reference to this inalienable dignity of human person. And this document did not quote some of the more forceful comments of Pope Francis, who has likened issues of abortion and issues of euthanasia as another way of hiring a hitman. It's like hiring a hitman. The document restates that Catholic teaching on abortion, on surrogacy, which is a mother, somebody carrying pregnancy for another, issues of euthanasia, which is mercy killing. It also includes other assaults like poverty, war, the problem of the migrants, issues of sexual abuse, and even defilement, violence against women, marginalization of the disabled, and the digital violence. This document is taking its teaching from Vatican II document, Gaudete et Spes. I had quoted this document, which talks about any offense against human dignity is a sin, and it alludes to all the violation of human integrity, such as mutilation, mutilating any part of the body. You are denying yourself, that part of the body, because you are creating the image of God, and you have no power to mutilate any part of your body. Physical or mental torture. Physical torture means torturing anyone physically. It doesn't matter, even a thief. When you arrest a thief, you have no right to torture that person. There is the law which needs to take its course. Mental torture is happening where we manipulate people and put them through a lot of psychological torture until psychological pressures. Even now among the young people, a lot of psychological torture where young people are exposed to even foreigners who torture them psychologically. People, have a case where some people are employing young people for a kind of orgy weekend, whereby young people invite each other and then they go and meet some other men, and they don't know each other, and they go through some orgies over the weekend from Friday to Sunday, and sometimes they even exchange partners, and other times the people are even mistreated, even things that are inhuman even to talk about. And all this happens because of money. Because you are given 100,000 or 50,000, you expose yourself to these dangers of manipulation. And this is a trend that we need to look into. It actually degrades your dignity as a human person. So issues of even using another person for profit, like what I've talked about, human trafficking. Somebody selling labor to other countries at the expense of this person's dignity. This person gets money. How many companies are we seeing? And once these people get into foreign countries, the companies don't care what happens there. There's a lot, sometimes there's some abuse and nobody cares. This is against human dignity. So it is essential to point out that dignity is not something granted to the person by others based on their gifts or qualities, such that it can be withdrawn at some point or because of this reason. Where it's so, it would be given in a conditional and alienable way. And then the very meaning of dignity would remain exposed to the risk of being abolished. But dignity of a human person is intrinsic to the person. No one, no condition can change the dignity that God has put in us. Dignitas Infinita employs the classic definition of human person that as an individual substance of a rational nature. Foundation of human dignity, the document explains that an individual substance, the person possesses ontological dignity, having received existence from God. So humans are subjects who subsist, that is, they exercise their existence autonomously. The term rational encompasses the capacities of the human person, including the capacities of knowing and understanding. So, also ontologically, the aspect of human being of wanting, loving, choosing, desiring also includes all these capacities. So, a human being has ontological dignity, meaning that they have intrinsic dignity within themselves, and they don't get it from anybody else or anything else but from God himself. From this perspective, we can understand the word dignity as it was used in 1948 at the Universal Declaration, which speaks about inherent dignity of the equal and inalienable rights of all members of the human family. What I mean is that this dignity is inherent, undeniable. Nobody can deny you this dignity. All are ways of expressing what is found in the Declaration of Independence of America, that is self-evident that all men are created equal, whether white or black, whether tall or short, whether rich or poor, we are all equal. So Dignitatis Infinita declares that this dignity is knowable by reason alone and by divine revelation. Dignity is inherited because men and women are made in the image and the likeness of God. So, there is a fourfold distinction of the concept of dignity. 1. Ontological dignity. 2. Moral dignity. 3. Social dignity. And 4. Existential dignity. The most important among these are ontological dignity because it belongs to the person as such, simply because he exists and is willed, created and loved by God. So you don't need to look for your dignity anywhere outside yourself. It is intrinsic. Moral dignity refers to how people exercise the freedom that God has given them. Though we are endowed with the conscience, they can always act against the conscience. Thus, it is possible for a man to degrade himself by his choices. So freedom can be used to sin. So every voluntary choice, for example, of a human person, this person is responsible. And this is what we are calling moral dignity. So we have a responsibility to make good moral choices. When you plan to steal, it is against human dignity. When you plan to sell part of your organ, it is against the moral dignity. When you plan to do something that is intrinsically wrong, it is against this we are calling moral dignity. So, my dear friends, the other two, social dignity refers to the quality of a person's living conditions. For example, poverty or even bad housing conditions. We need to have dignity. We need to live a life of dignity, and that is what this document is talking about. That we as human beings, we don't need to live in an environment that it looks like an environment of animals. We need equality and good living conditions. Finally, existential dignity is a type of dignity implied in the ever increasing discussion about the dignified life, the one that is not dignified. For instance, while some people may appear to lack some essentials of life for various reasons, they still struggle to live with joy, hope, and peace. What I mean by existential dignity is that dignity that gives you peace, that gives you hope, and makes you happy. So, like, for example, you can be rich, you have the dignity, social dignity, but you are living in an abusive family setup. You have some pathological addictions to alcohol and drugs. You are other hardships that you go through. And this we are calling existential dignity. It's like anybody who abuses drugs, anybody who abuses his or her sexuality is actually abusing the human dignity that God has given us. So, for those who are contemplating suicide or euthanasia, they talk of, I want to die with dignity. Just because you are going through a stressful situation, you want to die with dignity. But you want to avoid the loss of existential dignity. The dignity of existence has somehow become more obscured for them. They don't know there is ontological dignity, which means there is the being, the person you are, who has a dignity. No matter the kind of stress that you are going through, no matter the kind of deprivation that you are going through, that you as a person, you are created in the image of God. And so there is that image that we need to protect. So while the moral teachings of Dignitatis Infinita will not surprise anyone familiar with the Catholic teaching on the sanctity of life, the dignity of human people needs to be upheld, not only the Catholic Church, but by all human beings. The Catholic Church affirms human dignity. Now, a discussion can be about what are the things that can hinder us from enhancing this dignity. And these are things that we need to avoid. My dear friends, you are valuable as a person. You have high value. There is nothing that can be exchanged to the human being. It doesn't matter how much money you are given in exchange for anything that you are. Don't sell your freedom also. Don't sell your freedom by being given money to go to a place you don't know. Maybe a place where there can be some chances of abuse. You don't sell your freedom by starting to date a person you have never met. That is inhuman. There is no way you can fall in love with a person you have never met physically. It is also another form that opens us to more manipulation. Don't even expose your nakedness in the social media. It is against human dignity. That body is the temple of the Holy Spirit. It needs to be secure. It needs to be protected. It's not a public thing. Protect it. It is against human dignity to expose ourselves as young people. It's against human dignity to abuse drugs and alcohol, because we are created and we have a value that we need to preserve. Thank you. May God bless you.